The 1970s gave us Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder at their absolute peak. But hidden beneath the legends were artists who struck gold once, then vanished into history. These are the one-hit R&B wonders of the 70s and 80s, songs that lit up radios, packed dance floors, and then disappeared. Let's dive into these forgotten classics. 12. Sylvia, Pillow Talk, 1973. In 1973, a future hip-hop pioneer shocked R&B radio with the most sensual slow jam of the era. Sylvia Robinson's Pillow Talk pushed boundaries and changed what soul music could say on the airwaves. Sylvia Robinson was already a music industry veteran when she recorded Pillow Talk in 1973. She'd had a hit in the 1950s as part of the duo Mickey and Sylvia with Love is Strange. But Pillow Talk was something entirely different. The track was a sensual slow jam built on breathy vocals, shimmering strings, and a slinky bass groove that pushed the boundaries of what soul radio would play. Sylvia didn't just sing about intimacy. She whispered, sighed, and conveyed desire in ways that made program directors nervous. The song's suggestive phrasing and intimate delivery prefigured the quiet storm sound that would dominate R&B a decade later. The gamble paid off spectacularly. Pillow Talk shot to #1 on the R&B chart and #3 on the Hot 100 in 1973. It became one of the year's biggest crossover singles, despite, or perhaps because of, its controversial content. Radio stations initially hesitated, worried about listener complaints, but audiences loved the grown and sexy vibe that Sylvia brought to soul music. The track opened doors for more explicit R&B content and proved that sensuality could sell records. Sweet stuff. 11. New York City, I'm Doing Fine Now, 1973. In the summer of 1973, a smooth harmony group delivered one of the year's most polished breakup anthems. For a brief moment, they looked like they could rival the biggest groups in Philly soul. New York City was a harmony group that fused Philly-style strings, falsetto leads, and laid-back grooves with a distinctly urban sophistication. I'm Doing Fine Now was a bittersweet breakup anthem
She made me stop and get a hold of myself.
that somehow made heartbreak sound effortless. Produced by the legendary Tom Bell, it carried the DNA of Philadelphia International Records. Lush strings, melodic horns, and instantly singable melodies created a sound that was pure Philly soul magic. The song's hook was deceptively simple. A man claiming he's moved on while the music tells a different story beneath his words. The single soared to #17 on the Hot 100 and #14 on the R&B chart in 1973. For several months, it looked like New York City could rival established groups like Blue Magic and the Stylistics. Radio stations embraced the smooth production and the group's tight vocal interplay. Tom Bell's touch gave the song an instantly recognizable Philly sound that audiences craved. I'm doing fine now. 10. The Independents, Leaving Me, 1973. A A Chicago vocal group poured so much emotion into one ballad that listeners could feel their heartbreak through the speakers. It became the #1 R&B song in America. Then, the group quietly disappeared. In 1973, the Independents were carrying the torch for classic Chicago soul. Leaving Me was a tender ballad carried by layered falsetto harmonies, aching string arrangements, and gospel-inspired phrasing. Every vocal line rose and fell like a confession too painful to hold back. The production bridged the doo-wop tradition with the emerging Philly soul style. Lush orchestration wrapped around the group's tight harmonies, creating a sound that was both timeless and contemporary. Producer Marv Stewart understood how to capture raw emotion on tape, and the Independents delivered in spades. The single became a sensation. In 1973, it hit #1 on the R&B chart and #21 on the Hot 100, earning gold certification. For several months, Leaving Me was unavoidable on soul radio. The song's emotional depth resonated with listeners experiencing their own heartbreak. It captured the Chicago sound's emotional intensity, while looking forward to the smoother production styles that would define mid-70s soul. 9. Foster Silver's Misdemeanor, 1973.
Misdemeanor was originally written for the group, for the Silvers.
One of 1973's catchiest R&B singles came from a 12-year-old kid with a mischievous falsetto. Foster Silvers seemed destined for superstardom. Instead, he became one of soul's most unlikely one-hit wonders. Foster Silvers came from a musical family. The Silvers were a talented clan from Memphis who'd relocated to Los Angeles. At just 12 years old, Foster had a youthful falsetto that gave Misdemeanor a playful, cheeky charm. The song was a funk pop gem built on bouncy bass lines, crisp guitar riffs, and an infectious groove.
You, of course, are Foster.
Yes.
And I don't know which is which. I know we have...
Backed by his siblings, Foster seemed to have the whole package: youth, talent, and a family support system that should have guaranteed longevity. Misdemeanor climbed to #7 on the R&B chart and #22 on the Hot 100 in 1973. For someone barely in middle school,
Would you rather go to school instead?
Oh, yes.
Guess what?
it was an impressive feat. The single's groove was so timeless that it became a favorite among hip-hop producers decades later.
How old are you?
12. 13.
The Doc sampled Misdemeanor for his classic track, and countless others followed suit. The song's funky foundation proved that Foster Silvers had created something genuinely special. Critics praised the production and Foster's precocious vocal delivery.
Recently been chosen to do the new single.
And
8. Brighter Side of Darkness, Love Jones, 1972. A group of Chicago high schoolers recorded a song in their spare time. Suddenly, they had the #3 R&B hit in America and were sharing stages
My actions afterwards, and the way I feel.
with Motown legends. In early 1972, the members of Brighter Side of Darkness were still in high school on Chicago's South Side. Love Jones was unlike anything else on radio. A slow burn ballad built around spoken word monologues, lush strings, and a hypnotic groove.
When Mr. Russell was giving us the chance, I was sitting upstairs.
It felt more like a teenage diary set to music than a conventional soul track. The authenticity came from the fact
See, I not only want you, baby, but I need you.
that these really were teenagers pouring out their emotions. The song's conversational intimacy struck a chord with young listeners who heard their own feelings reflected in every word. When Love Jones was released, it rocketed to number 3 on the R&B chart and number 16
It's the brighter side of darkness.
on the Hot 100. For a brief shining moment, Brighter Side of Darkness stood shoulder to shoulder with Motown stars. The single earned gold certification, selling over 1 million copies. Radio couldn't get enough of its smooth spoken word sections punctuated by soaring vocals and sweeping orchestration. 7. Lip-Sync, Funkytown, 1980. A wedding DJ from Minneapolis created a band to test his disco songs. He never imagined his track would hit number 1 in 28 countries and sell over 35 million copies. Steven Greenberg was a wedding DJ who wanted to try his hand at writing disco music. He formed Lip-Sync, a clever play on lip sync, and began searching for the perfect voice. Enter Cynthia Johnson, a multi-talented singer and saxophonist who'd been lead vocalist for the Minneapolis funk band Flight Time. Flight Time featured future superstars Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, but Johnson had drifted away as the band members settled down. When Greenberg called her to sing on his demos, she came to Sound 80 Studios and laid down vocals that were crystalline, powerful, and infused with gospel intensity. Funkytown was written about the desire to escape to a bigger city with more energy and excitement. The track featured staccato strings, deep guitar licks, a killer 10-note synth riff, and Johnson's vocals run through a vocoder. Released in March 1980, the song was an instant smash. It spent 4 weeks at number 1 on the Hot 100 and topped disco charts worldwide. Within months, it sold over 2 million copies in the United States alone and was certified platinum. Funkytown hit number 1 in Australia, 6. Cheryl Lynn, Got to Be Real, 1978. A church singer won a spot on The Gong Show and caught the attention of a major label. 1 year later, she had a disco anthem that still packs dance floors today. Cheryl Lynn grew up singing in church in Los Angeles. Her mother a minister who instilled gospel passion in her daughter's voice. Shy by nature, Lynn possessed a 5-octave vocal range that could stop a room cold. In June 1976, a friend dared her to audition for The Gong Show, the quirky TV talent competition. Lynn sang Joe Cocker's You Are So Beautiful and stunned everyone with her soaring vocals. Although she tied with another contestant and didn't win outright, her performance caught the attention of major record labels. Atlantic Records set up a meeting, but when label head Ahmed Ertegun couldn't make it, Lynn signed with Columbia Records instead. Columbia paired Lynn with producer David Paich and his father Marty Paich. David was the keyboardist for the rock band Toto, which hadn't even released its debut album yet. Working with David Foster, Lynn co-wrote Got to Be Real, about authentic love and affection. If you just be true, everything will be all right for you, she explained. The production was innovative. A slinky piano line, syncopated rhythms, and Lynn's ad-libbed vocals created a bridge between disco and the emerging sound of 1980s R&B. Her famous "Ooh, Your Love's For Real Now" hook became instantly recognizable. 5. Van McCoy, The Hustle, 1975. Van McCoy was a successful soul producer and arranger who'd worked with Gladys Knight and the Pips, the Stylistics, and Aretha Franklin. He'd written hits for others, but never scored big as a performer. In 1975, McCoy was finishing his disco album, Disco Baby, when DJ David Todd kept nagging him to check out a new dance at the Adam's Apple nightclub in Manhattan. Too busy to go himself, McCoy sent his business partner, Charles Kipps Jr. Kipps returned at midnight so excited that he brought 2 dancers back to the studio to show McCoy their moves. McCoy loved what he saw. It was something completely different from the "you do your thing and I do mine" dances, he later explained. It was people dancing together again. The Hustle reminded me of ballroom dancing. With only 1 hour of studio time remaining, McCoy composed The Hustle on the spot and recorded it with seasoned players, including drummer Steve Gadd and bassist Gordon Edwards. He added it to the already completed album as a last-minute bonus track. Nobody expected it to become anything special. 4. Timmy Thomas, Why Can't We Live Together, 1972. When Timmy Thomas released Why Can't We Live Together in 1972, nothing else on radio sounded like it. No horns, no backing vocals, no guitar, just sustained organ chords, a hypnotic drum machine pulse, and Thomas's pleading falsetto. It was as if he'd taken Philadelphia soul and stripped away everything except pure emotion. The gamble worked spectacularly. The track shot to #1 on the R&B chart and #3 on the Hot 100, becoming a crossover anthem at the height of the Vietnam War. The song's message of peace and unity felt urgent in 1972 America. Soldiers were still dying in Vietnam. Race relations remained tense. The country felt divided. Thomas's simple question, why can't we live together, resonated with millions yearning for harmony. But it was the production that made Why Can't We Live Together revolutionary. Its minimalist groove was decades ahead of its time, influencing everything from synth-driven funk to early house music. Electronic music pioneers would later cite it as inspiration for the stripped-down aesthetic of dance music.
Just a little piece in this world.
3. Billy Paul, Me and Mrs. Jones, 1972.
Let it go now.
Picture this. Producers Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff are taking a lunch break at a cafe near their Philadelphia International Records office. Every single day,
Holding hands.
a little guy who looked like a judge would come in. 10 to 15 minutes later, a woman would arrive. They'd sit in the same booth, play the same songs on the jukebox,
But it's much too strong to let
then leave separately. Gamble and Huff looked at each other and said, "That's me and Mrs. Jones."
go. We can't afford to build.
They They went upstairs and wrote the entire song about this couple they'd been watching. It could have been his daughter or his niece, but they created a story about a forbidden romance.
And we're gonna hold hands like we used to. We're gonna talk it over.
They knew exactly who should sing it. Billy Paul, a jazz-trained vocalist from Philadelphia who could make any lyric feel intimate and real. Billy Paul
I wanna meet and talk with you.
had been struggling for years. 3 previous albums on Gamble and Huff's labels had flopped. His career was basically over. But when Billy took Me and Mrs. Jones with him on vacation and came back to deliver those emotional vocals, everything changed.
We meet every day.
The song tells the story of 2 people meeting every day at 6:30 at the same cafe, holding hands and making plans they both know are wrong. It features lush strings,
It hurts so.
a laid-back groove, and Billy's voice building from a near whisper to a wrenching, drawn-out shout of, "Me and Mrs. Jones."
We gotta be.
Released in October 1972, it hit #1 on December 16th, knocking Helen Reddy's I Am Woman out of the top spot.
We got a thing going on.
It stayed at #1 for 3 weeks on the Hot 100 and 4 weeks on the R&B chart. Billy Paul won the Grammy for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance, beating Ray Charles, Curtis Mayfield, and Isaac Hayes. Some radio stations refused to play it because of the adultery theme. Others edited it heavily, but people loved the song's honesty. Then everything fell apart.
Go now.
2. Norman Greenbaum, Spirit in the Sky, 1970. How does a nice Jewish boy from Massachusetts write one of the greatest Christian rock songs ever recorded? Norman Greenbaum was raised in an Orthodox Jewish household. He grew up going to Hebrew school, listening to blues and folk music. In 1969, he was watching Porter Wagoner's TV show, when Wagoner performed a gospel number. Norman thought to himself, "Yeah, I could do that," knowing absolutely nothing about gospel music. He found a greeting card with Native Americans sitting around a fire, being spiritual toward what they called a spirit in the sky. That gave him the title. Then he sat down and wrote the entire song in 15 minutes. 15 minutes. The recording session was magical. Norman had a fuzz box built directly into his Fender Telecaster guitar, creating a sound nobody could duplicate. Producer Eric Jacobson brought in the Stovall sisters, gospel singers from Oakland, to add hand claps and those heavenly backup vocals. The result: a hypnotic, fuzzed-out boogie rock masterpiece that sold 2 million copies. It hit #3 on the Hot 100, #1 in the UK, Australia, and Canada. Even John Lennon called it one of his favorite songs in a 1970 Rolling Stone interview. The record label was terrified at first. They said, "Nobody plays anything like this on Top 40 radio." They were worried about the length and the religious lyrics, but Norman knew. He always knew it would be a hit. The controversial line, "Never been a sinner, I never sinned," upset some Christians because the religion teaches everyone is born in sin. But Norman wasn't trying to be theologically perfect. He was just writing what felt right. Norman never replicated that success. His follow-up, Canned Ham, reached only #46. By 1972, he'd left the music business entirely and ran a goat cheese dairy farm in Petaluma, California. One, Jean Knight, Mr. Big Stuff, 1971. In 1971, a New Orleans baker walked into Malaco Studios in Jackson, Mississippi, and recorded one of the biggest feminist anthems of the decade.
Tell me, who do you think you are?
Jean Knight was working at Loyola University making pastries when songwriter Ralph Williams discovered her.
I'd rather give my love to a broke guy that has a love that's strong.
She had been singing in bars but had basically given up on music. During that same whirlwind recording session, King Floyd cut Groove Me.
Big stuff. Tell me, just who do you think?
When Floyd's song became a #1 R&B hit, a producer at Stax Records remembered Jean's track and finally released it. Mr. Big Stuff exploded.
Big stuff. You never gonna break.
#1 on the R&B chart for 5 weeks. #2 on the Hot 100. It went double platinum and sold over 2 million copies. The song was a sassy takedown of an arrogant ladies' man, and Jean delivered it with attitude that made women everywhere stand up and cheer. Several major labels had rejected the song before Stax took a chance. They thought nobody wanted to hear a woman calling out a man's ego that boldly. They were dead wrong. Jean Knight never had another major pop hit. She waited 12 years before releasing another recording, and by then, the moment had passed. But Mr. Big Stuff became eternal. Missy Elliott sampled it in Supa Dupa Fly. Heavy D remade it. It's been in countless commercials and movies. Jean Knight passed away in November 2023 at age 80.